guys, how are you all? I hope you guys are doing fine. And I'm back with another video of my channel. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the hero Azra. We're gonna cover about the descriptions of her skills, what her skills are meant to do, and how to use her during the match to win most of your matches. So at the beginning, we're gonna watch out for the skills she has. So the first skill she has is Soul Split. So let's look at the description of this skill. When attacking, separates the opponent's soul and leaves the soul in the block, making it for a weak 1, 2 or 3 turns. And need to either attack Azra or land on the soul to recover the soul. Opponent in the weak state takes damage equal to the blocks they move. And Azra recovers HP equal to the damages of the opponent. So this is too much information to cope up with. So I'm not gonna try to explain this here, and I'll just simply explain it during the gameplay. The second skill that she has is called Owl's Gift. So I'll sum it up for you guys. What it does, as it levels up, it gonna give your enemies three different cards. Like when it is at level 1, it gonna give a lazy card. When it is level 2, it gonna give a self jail card, that is a special card. And the third, when it is at level 3, it gives your enemy a special card called Ego Ring. So these three cards do different things, and you like the lazy card just simply pass over the turn. The self jail will put your enemy in the jail and give him an extra turn, and the ego ring simply does the doubles up the damage your enemy gonna receive. And another thing with this Owl's Gift comes is that when you cross your enemy, like when you cross your enemies and go to the next tile, then your enemy gonna receive damage. Like we can see here, if the opponent already holds the card in the hand, this deals 3 damage instead of adding the card. That means is that if your enemy is already holding like Ego Ring, then you'll not gonna give him another card, you will just give 3 damage. And as it levels up, it gonna also add up to the damage. Like at level 1, it gonna give 1 damage, 2 damage and 3 damage. And the final skill is that Soul Harvest. So what it does, it adds the damage potential to your attack power. Like as it levels up, it gonna add the damage power from 57 to 100% of your enemy, of your attack power. And then it also steals, the most interesting part is that it steals skill points from your enemy and then adds up to your skills. That's a very what I should say, that's a very handy skill during the match. So this is too much information from this skills description, so I don't think this is a very good way to explain the skills. I will explain all these skills during the match. So now let's move on to that. So here is the first card that Azra gives when her second skill Owl's Gift at level 1. Here is the card that is lazy card, and what it does, it simply immediately turns hand over your turn to your enemy. The second card that she gives is a special card, and that is called Self Jail. What it does, moves your opponent to the base, and as it is a blue special card, your enemies get another extra turn after getting locked up. And this is the third card that Azra gives, is called Ego Ring. What it does, equipping a card to your deck increases the maximum cost by 3. So it increases your deck cost by 3, and you will take double damage while holding this card in your hand. So if you have this card if your enemy have this card in his hand, then he gonna receive double damage while you attack him. So these are the 3 cards that Azra gives him to give his to enemy. So for deck, I am using the first card that I'm using is the Return Home. You know, I like this card and I use this card with all my decks. Then the second card that comes up is the Hunter card, and you know, without Neria, no other hero is as good as hunting. So that's why Hunter card is a must for Azra, because now with after the update, the showdown comes up after 15 turns, so that's why Hunter card is a must. Then the third card I'm using is the Reverse Summon. It's pretty much handy. It gives you some reverse dice that comes up pretty much good down the match. Then the next card is Jail Destruction, and the final card is Purification. So I'm using you know, from my previous video that I have told you guys that Return Home and Purification, these are the 2 cards you must always use, or you should have in your hand while playing, because these 2 are very much handy cards to have in your hand. And for bases, you can use whatever bases you like, but in case if you have a Azra at level 4, then you have to have Eternal M equipped as the base, because this gonna increase her health. And you can see I haven't used any potion, so that's why this Eternal Elm base is very much important. So like all other heroes, Azra has 3 skills, but keep in mind the two skills are the most important for Azra, the first one and the third one. So as my Azra is at level 4, or sorry, as at grade 4, so she only has her first skill turned on at the beginning of the match. So my target was to turn on the third skill as soon as possible. Now, when I'll land on the attack tile in the next turn, my first skill is gonna come into play. So here I use the high tile to land on the attack tile, and I landed on the attack tile. Now you will see a icon popped up under the skills tab of Azra, and that counts the weak state of your enemy. Your enemy is in weak state, and for one turn the number of tile your enemy gonna move is gonna take the damage the number of tiles he moved. Here Azra moved for 2 tiles, so he received 2 damages. You can see 2 damages, and Azra received 2 health points. Red thing is the soul separated from your enemy. So all these things is done by the first skill. And for this reason I didn't explain the facts about the first skill in the description, skill description, because this is very much easier to understand by seeing the gameplay without reading the description. That is boring also. Here my enemy used Frostbite card, and I hate this card, and thankfully I received the return home card, so I can return to my base, and that's why this return home card is very much useful, so you should keep it in your hand. And this Frostbite effect gonna like stall my progress in the game for at least 2 or 3 turns, because I'll receive just only one card and I can't even use those 2 other cards because of the frostbite effect. And one more thing, this frostbite effect doesn't go away, it will stay unless you use that card up, and if you use that card you're gonna receive damage. So that's why I can't even use that card, and I'll just try to land on a shop tile to just sell it and buy some other cards. In the meantime, when I landed on my base, I turned on my second skill, the Owl's Gift, and you're gonna see the effect of this Owl's Gift in a moment. As I received the Enlightenment Magic book, without giving any thought, I just turned on my third skill, that is Soul Harvest. And this skill is very, very important for the damage amount of Azra, because without this skill, Azra won't gonna do that much of damage. But if you have this third skill, Soul Harvest on, she gonna deal a massive amount of damage. Like if you have the third skill at level 1, it gonna add to the main attack power for 11, and plus it gonna add 50% of your attack power like for 5. So in total you're gonna do 16 damage if you have your third skill on. So if you are facing Exa, then I would recommend you level up your third skill as early as possible, because Exa has a higher amount of defense. So if you level up your third skill, then it gonna increase your attack power. Like at level 2 you're gonna do 70% of your actual attack power more than more to your enemy. So that's why I would say just turn on the third skill and then level it up if you are facing Exar or Grehan, the heroes with much more defense on them. Now I have my third skill to level 2. My next goal would be to land on the tile that has my enemy soul on it, or run through it. If I do one of those two, I'm gonna give damage to my enemy. So in this case, I ran through the tile that has my enemy soul on it. And here my second skill came into play. I gave him 1 damage because my second skill was at level 1, and I give him the card lazy card that I mentioned earlier. So during the match, I like to read about the skills that my heroes have, because I tend to forget things a lot. So that's why I just keep in mind which hero I am playing with and which skill that hero comes with. Now I will level up my first skill to level 2. And after that we're gonna see, based on the match situation, we're gonna level up either the first skill to level 3 or the third skill to level 3. So in the next turn, I'll land on that attack tile, and for that reason, I leveled up my third skill to level 3 because it gonna do 100% more damage to my actual attack power. You'll see I have my 17 attack power, but I will do 34 damage because the third skill add up to 100% more damage. Plus, along with that damage, I stole 2 skill points from my enemy, and that increased my first skill to level 3 and my second skill to level 2. So all these extra damages and skill point stealing thing is because of the third skill you have. But if this third skill is only gonna come into play if your enemy is in the weakened state, that is, your enemy's soul is separated from his body. If not, this third skill won't come into play. And my first skill is doing its job. As my enemy is moving through the tiles, he's losing and receiving damages, and I am receiving health points. So that's why the first skill is also very important. So in summary, the first and the third skill are the two most important skill that Azra has. The second, after you have leveled up the first and the third skill, then you should go for the second skill. If you are facing Azra and in your weakened state, then never go for higher dices. Like in case of here, my enemy used 6 dice and he gonna receive 6 damage for it. So if you are facing Azra and you weakened state, do not use higher dices. Play lower dice cards. You can see he received 6 damage and I received 6 health. And with this 5, this match ended. Now let's move on to the next match. So in this match I faced Trixie, one of the most annoying heroes, because Trixie just decreases your attack power. So that's in that case as the third skill comes into play. So right, you can see this Trixie was far out matched for me because that Trixie had already has 56 health and I have only 30. Plus Trixie had doubled the attack power that I have. So as Trixie is under the weak state because of my first skill, the number of tiles she's gonna move, she'll receive the same amount of damage, the number of tiles she moved, as in this case -3, and I received the +3 of health. And one thing, if your enemy is at his base that means if your enemy is at your enemy base and if you attack, then the soul won't be splitted from his body. So that's one thing you should remember. Like in this case, in the first turn, I attacked my enemy and she was on her base, and that's why her soul didn't split from her body, but she was still under the weakened state. So when playing against Trixie, if you have Trixie pills in your hand, always try to get rid of those, because if you keep them up, and at a moment you will see you have all five of the Trixie pills, then it's game over for you. So always try to use up the Trixie pills. So during this match, I didn't know what the dispatch card is all about, so I just played it to figure it out, and it turned out somewhat good in this situation. So, in the next turn, my target was to land on the monster tile up ahead. So I played the 6 dice, and on the way, I returned on my base and turned on my third skill, that is the Soul Harvest, because that is the simple goal. Just always turn on the third skill, Soul Harvest. Then after killing, and my second skill came into play, gave her 1 damage and gave the lazy card because my second skill is at level 1. Then after killing this monster, I leveled up my first skill, the Soul Spit, uh, to level 2. You can either level up the first skill or level up the third skill, your choice, but you don't go for the second, the Owl's Gift. In the next turn, I'm gonna run past Trixie, and my second skill will come into play. As my opponent is already holding the lazy card, it gives the 3 damage plus 1 damage due to passing through her. So that is the second skill for you, again coming into play. My goal was to land on this higher level monster tile because I am holding a hunter card, and for this reason, by killing the monster I'll receive some good critical cards. For that reason I landed on the monster tile, and my calculation was right. I received a special card for killing that higher level monster, and I took my first skill to level 3. You are free to do whatever you want with the first or the third skill, but in most of the cases I would recommend to level up the first skill to level 3, then go for the third skill, and after that, if you have a chance, then level up your second skill. With this Burning Blade card, I attacked my opponent, but my third skill didn't come into play because my opponent wasn't under weakened states. So that's why what I mentioned earlier, your third skill only gonna come into play if your opponent is under the weak state due to your first skill, the Soul Split. I was lucky to land on the shop tile because I was able to sell all these Trixie pills and buy something other than that. Holding Trixie pill is very much dangerous while playing against Trixie, so that's a plus point. And I must say I was lucky during this match because other than luck, you can't win against this outmatched opponent. She used the -2 and moved to 2 tiles behind, and she'll receive 2 damage and I'll receive 2 health points, and she gonna again give me a Trixie pill. So as my first skill was at level 3, so I took somewhat a different approach as I was landing on that lower level monster tile. So I knew I gonna level up my skill. So that's why I leveled up my second skill to level 2. And on that monster tile, I killed that monster and leveled up my third skill to level 2. So you can play around what you can do during the match situation and do what best for you. But in most of the cases, I would suggest just go for the first and the third skill. But if you have this sort of situation set up where you can just level up twice, then you can, in that situations, you can go for the second skill to level up also. As my opponent was under the weakened state, my target was to land on an attack tile, and I did that and landed on an attack tile and did 20 damage. That is 70% more than the of my actual attack power 12 due to my third skill. And because of being in the weakened state, she gonna receive the damage equal to the number of tiles she moves, and she moved 4 tiles, and she gonna receive -4 damage, and that's a good GG's for this game. So that's how you should play with Azra, and I guess if you follow these tips what I've shared, in most of the cases you're gonna do well. To sum things up, first turn on the third skill, then either take the first skill to level 3 or take both the first and the third skill to level 2. Then you should look to max out one of the soul split or soul harvest skill, and after doing all those things, if you get the chance to level up your second skill, you can go for that. But in most of the cases, if you just level up your third skill and attack your enemy, you gonna steal skill points from your enemy, and that gonna level up your skills. So for that reason, leveling up Azra skills is pretty much easier. And so I'll repeat myself once again. go turn on the third skill, and always try to level up first or the third skill. And if you do just that, you will be good to go. So guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, please give a like, and if you have any suggestions for my future videos, please mention that in the comment section. And if you like the videos that I create, please do subscribe to my channel. So that's all for today. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.